Have you come face to face with any of the prevailing myths about women in the workplace? Last month, I interviewed Analiza Wolf, the author of The Myths of Success, A Woman of Color's Guide to Leadership. Analiza's book and our conversation focused on the myths we women buy into that hinder our growth as leaders. Not too long ago, I was listening to an episode on the McKinsey Podcast produced by McKinsey & Company. The episode was titled, Busting Myths About Women in the Workplace. Interesting. Not myths that we women hold about ourselves, rather the myths that are held about women in the workplace in general. Then recently, I came across an article by Gallup titled, The Path to Gender Parity in Leadership. Ding, ding, ding. Of course, caught my attention, and it was published on March 8th of 2024. This article complemented and added to the information shared on the McKinsey Podcast. I found the topic of myths about women all so fascinating that I wanted to share it with you. If you are new to the Women Taking the Lead podcast, hello and welcome. I am Jody Flynn, the CEO and founder of Women Taking the Lead, a leadership development company that helps organizations achieve their gender parity goals at all levels of leadership and in all divisions of the organization. We help to realize these results through consulting, coaching, leadership development programs, and keynotes. My goal is for this podcast to be a valuable resource to you and others in your organization of all genders to grow in your leadership. If we are not already connected on LinkedIn, please send me an invitation to connect. You can find me directly at linkedin.com/in/Jody Flynn, or you can search on the platform for Jody Flynn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I should be at or near the top of the search results. Be sure to add a note to the invitation letting me know you're a listener of the podcast. I would love to connect with you and get to know you better. Okay, let's look at these myths about women in the workplace. I've got 4 of them for you. Myth number 1 is the belief that ambition among women has decreased over time. I think this myth gained some steam during the pandemic when so many women left the workforce. Women left the workforce largely due to a lack of childcare and elder care that largely fell to women to absorb. Also, a good percentage of women left their jobs due to burnout. Here's the reality. Research findings indicate that women's ambition has not waned. Instead, it has grown, especially during the pandemic. Statistics show that 80% of women express a desire for promotions, a percentage that is comparable to that of men. Notably, younger women, particularly those under 30, exhibit high levels of ambition, with many aspiring to reach top leadership positions. Women of color, in particular, demonstrate significant ambition in their careers. Men and women generally concur on factors that either encourage or deter them from pursuing high-level positions. However, for women, a requirement of being available outside of regular work hours is more likely to dissuade them from aspiring to a leadership role. So here's the recommendation. The data underscores the importance of fostering an environment that supports and nurtures women's ambition. Providing flexibility in the working model, such as remote work options, has played a significant role in empowering women to pursue their career goals. Emphasizing and amplifying women's ambition can lead to greater diversity and inclusivity in leadership roles. The second myth is the misconception that flexibility in the workplace is primarily sought after by women. The reality is, both men and women value workplace flexibility, with 80% of both expressing that they are most productive when they have focused time, whether working remotely or in person. And here's where you want to insert Fewer and shorter meetings, please. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of flexibility, leading to a shift in mindset among employees and organizations. So the recommendation is it's essential to recognize that flexibility benefits everyone, regardless of gender. Exploring various flexible work arrangements beyond traditional remote work, such as flexible hours and hybrid models, can contribute to a more inclusive and adaptable work culture. And I want to harken back to the last episode on pay equity with Emily Aries. Changes that benefit one group typically benefit all groups. Okay, the third myth is the perception that the glass ceiling is the primary barrier preventing women from advancing in their careers. While the glass ceiling remains a challenge, it's the broken rung at the entry level into management position that presents a more significant obstacle. This broken rung disproportionately affects women, particularly women of color, leading to slower progress and fewer opportunities for advancement. And I'll add the overall pay disparity between women and men over the course of their careers. According to research done by Gallup, both women and men show increasing interest in leadership roles as they are promoted. This indicates that with experience in managing teams, individuals tend to develop greater confidence in their leadership capabilities, making leadership positions appear more attainable to them. So the recommendation: companies must implement strategies to address the broken rung issue by focusing on early promotions and creating a diverse talent pipeline from the start of women's careers. This includes providing mentorship, sponsorship, and support to help women navigate their career paths successfully. I'll add leadership development and experiences that give them the confidence to aspire to greater leadership positions. Myth number 4 is the belief that microaggressions have a minimal impact on women's careers. Here's the reality. Microaggressions, although seemingly minor, hence the start of the word micro, have a significant cumulative impact on women's experiences in the workplace. These everyday slights contribute to feelings of imposter syndrome, they undermine confidence, and can lead to burnout and a desire to leave the organization. So building awareness and fostering allyship are crucial in addressing microaggressions. Creating an environment where individuals feel supported and empowered to speak up against microaggressions can contribute to a more inclusive and respectful workplace culture. And this goes beyond women, way beyond women. I will also add to this recommendation, a culture of accountability is also required. It's one thing to feel empowered and encouraged to speak up. It's another thing to be heard and have the issues addressed in a timely and fair manner. If there's no accountability, all efforts to empower and encourage people to speak up are for naught. It will diminish over time as people lose trust in their leaders to address areas of concern. Now, in a moment, I'm going to cover some guidance for future leaders and for organizations. Are you getting value from listening to the Women Taking the Lead podcast? If so, could you do me a huge favor? Could you leave a rating and a review in your favorite podcast app? Ratings and reviews make a podcast easier to discover, and written reviews let a potential listener know whether or not a podcast might be of interest to them. Podcast reviews lend social proof that listening to the episode is worth someone's time. So if you would be open to leaving a review, go into the Women Taking the Lead podcast show page in your favorite podcast app. Every app is different, but if you can't find a setting near the top of the screen, you can just scroll down a bit to find it. For instance, on Spotify, click on the 3 dots to the right of the setting wheel, but on Apple Podcasts, it's about halfway down the show page. Thank you so much. I see all the ratings and reviews, and each one makes a difference. Here is McKinsey's guidance for future leaders. Use data and stay committed. Don't become complacent with aggregate numbers or make excuses for existing disparities. Instead, utilize data, delve deep into the issues, and approach them with the same intensity and dedication as you would with sales, operations, or growth opportunities. Secondly, measure and analyze. Specifically regarding the broken rung issue, leaders are encouraged to measure and analyze it at a granular level, team by team and promotion by promotion. Conducting postmortems and thoroughly examining the data can reveal insights and areas for improvement. Persist and challenge structural obstacles. For young women and junior professionals, the advice is twofold. First, they should not be discouraged by the lack of representation at the top, but instead persist in their efforts to effect change. Second, they should use data and facts to challenge structural biases and obstacles in the system. This involves asking tough questions, seeking opportunities for growth, and holding organizations accountable for addressing inequities. Now, here's some guidance for organizations to promote women in leadership roles because, as we all know, changes are not made just because of individual efforts. There has got to be some structural changes in our environment in order for changes to be made and to be sustainable. So for organizations, clarify leadership potential criteria. Organizations should define clear criteria for determining leadership potential, and that's in air quotes, because it could be different based on who's sitting at the table, and critically review qualifications and evaluation criteria for leadership roles. We want to make sure the same criteria is being used to evaluate all candidates. And hold leaders accountable. Leaders should be held accountable for developing the next generation by providing opportunities for learning and growth. This includes participation in leadership training and challenging experiences. Listen and act. Implement a comprehensive listening strategy to understand the needs and ambitions of all employees, but especially women, and prioritize initiatives that promote their advancement. And the next few are things that can come from these listening tours. Flexibility for high-performing employees. Establish flexible work policies to meet the needs of high-performing employees, particularly focusing on work-life balance and personal well-being. Address the childcare crisis. Organizations should find ways to support employees affected by the childcare crisis, as women are disproportionately impacted by family responsibilities. And lastly, consider changing workforce expectations. As organizations seek to fill leadership roles and diversify talent, they should consider changing expectations and needs of the workforce, aiming to benefit all of their employees. These actions can help organizations promote gender diversity in leadership roles and create a supportive and inclusive work environment. I think that's something we can all get behind. Thank you so much for listening to the Women Taking Lead podcast. I have 3 small favors to ask. If you are not yet subscribed to the podcast, hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss out on the upcoming episodes. Know anyone else who can benefit from this episode? Please share it with them. And if you are looking for leadership development opportunities for yourself, your team, or your organization, reach out to me. We can customize a program that meets your specific needs. You can reach me at Jody at womentakingthelead.com. And that's JODI at womentakingthelead.com. And as always, I hope this was of value to you, and here's to your success.